All right. What are we doing? We're doing entity interpolation. But you know as well as I do that the first 20 minutes are complete nonsense. Hell, Footlong, how you going, buddy? How you doing? Are you having a good day? All right. I'm missing my phone. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I knew I was missing one thing, and it is my phone. Okay. Let's see if we can get. Well, that wasn't working. Oops. On. Okay, let's repair some devices then, shall we? That works. That does not work. Disconnect. Disconnecting the fixture. All right. Is there a firmware upgrade we can do? Is that a thing? It's updated already. So it's just not working. Okay. Will this work? Pairing successful. And it does not work. Aha. The plot thickens. It does work. I am just stupid. Don't tell anyone. Okay, can we go there? No, that didn't have anything. Oh my god, you're gonna reconnect when I swap presets? Okay. Good. So good. Can we change you to something a bit warmer? Can we have a bit warmer? Even warmer. Right, there we go. That is not the right temperature at all. Go to add. Just no. Can we please have this work? All right, what about something like 3200? That's a good bit of sunlight, yeah. That would be morning sun, low sun, I think. Yeah, that works for me. Okay, and we want that angle. And then bring that up into there. There we go. There's my not quite that real imaginary sun. Hello, Enrico. How you doing? Okay. What shall we do today? Well, we have a lot of exciting things to do today. One thing is I'm doing 2 streams today. I'm streaming now, unsurprisingly, and I'm streaming again after lunch with Christoph. All right. So it'll be clearly an exercise in Italiano with Christoph. So that's happening today after lunch. So if you're interested in that, I got a suspicion. I have many, but one particular one that I have is that we are probably going to end up talking about a bunch of things and not do a lot of programming. So it will probably be more maybe podcast in its nature. But I'm guessing that we're going to have a lot of I'm here for the ramble and the fumble. Well, listen, put it back in your pants. Don't fumble around with it, but ramble we can do together. Okay. Anyway, I had a thought this morning and I need to finish this thought. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for some thinking? I don't know. I'm not ready for some thinking. I haven't made anything in a while. Am I? Right. I need to do that. Okay. Should we all just sit here quietly think for a while? Are you guys up for that? Coffee and contemplation. No, it has to do with an old project I was working on, and I was thinking about how I'm going to solve a particular problem. And I started working on this last night. I was watching Brooke Circus stream for a bit. As he was teaching the AI to play NetHack. The AI is like one of them, right? He was teaching an AI to play NetHack, and I think that was good. Contemplation is a side hustle. I don't know, Daily. What was the last thing you contemplated then, right? Share your thoughts with us, please. We'd appreciate that. Well, I would. What have you been contemplating? So he was doing that, and I was doing my thing, and I just barely scratched the surface of what I was working on, and I just couldn't really find that peaceful moment to sit down and ponder problems. I don't know. Do you guys do this? Do you have do you sort of sit down and you think about things, a programming problem or whatever, right? And you kind of just immerse yourself in the problem. So either you sit down somewhere comfortable and do this, or you go for a walk and do this, or do you do any of that, right? It's not really contemplation though. That's just watching a YouTube video, Daily. I think you need to look up what contemplation means. And if you look it up, let me know what it means as well, right? Because I'm tired. I bored myself with the joke. Anyway, so yeah. How much time do we actually set aside these days to sit and ponder these things, and what's our process for doing so, right? Sadly, it's really boring to stream that, right? If I grab my notebook and I started thinking about something quietly, sitting there going like, then people would start getting ants in the pants, I think. So that's not doable. I think we're gonna do the last step of network programming today, is that right? Before we can package this up into something beautiful and reusable, right? So that's exciting, though, right? Actual contemplation of a project is boring, but here's the thing. Or put the trolling and the memeing aside for a second, right? Yes, it is. It can be. You kind of have to be in the mood for it, right? It's like salad. It's if you got the option to have a cheeseburger, you will, right? But sometimes a salad is just right. But the contemplation part, it's not the contemplation or the thinking that's the good thing. It's the result, right? So Think about this, Taylor. Do you ever get this? You think about a problem for a long time, maybe even a couple of days, right? You don't wake up, start thinking about it, and then 3 days later you're done. Like, you think about it for a bit, then you do something else. And you think about it for a bit, and you do something else. And when you solve that problem, when you solve the issue, that feeling of fireworks in your brain, right? That's fun, right? That's why programming is good, right? That's why programming is fun to me, right? Yeah. But contemplation itself can be something, can be quite meditative, but a lot of times it's boring. I think it is an honest truth to say that it's boring. Right now, I need to do some old-fashioned domain modeling. I would not call it contemplation, but I guess that fits the definition. I mean, the satisfying aspect of it is when things falls into place. When you're solving like a puzzle in different places, and then you have like all these like small satellite solutions, and you bring them together, and they just fit. That is incredibly satisfying, right? The crash outs of imposter syndrome are, however, not fun. This is a very, that should not follow contemplation though, right, Croucher? If you get imposter syndrome from contemplation, then you need to stop contemplating the way you do. How you doing this morning, and how's it going, right? How's tricks? Do you like contemplation? Do you like to think of problems? Or rather, should we say most people probably find a lot of that aspect boring, right? Like, you really have to be in the mood for it. It's not like you're just gonna stop whatever you're doing, stare into the ether for a good 30 minutes to an hour thinking about a problem, right? You really have to be in the right space for that. I wish it wasn't so boring to stream. I wish flow state or the zone was not boring to stream, but it is incredibly boring, right? You see someone like really deep in focus and they're just staring at something, and then after 5 minutes you're like, is the video frozen? What are they doing, right? It's not entertaining, right? You've lost the entertainment aspect of it. Serendipity as a result of contemplation. Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? I think it's a lovely feeling though, right? When you sort of just sort of put it together and it fits, right? But yes, so I have one of these things that I need to think of. So today is really packed, right? I have the streaming, then lunch, then streaming again with another streamer. We're doing the code thing. And then after that, I'm supposed to cook food for the whole family, maybe get a bit of gardening in, and at some point, get back to my contemplation, right? I shall contemplate my orb. Well, that's bollocks. That joke works on many levels. I'm trying to let the convenience of AI cause me to lose the love of programming. But do you love programming, Crush? Right? Let's talk about it, because I think this is gonna come up in our co-stream. This is definitely, if you're watching both streams today, you will definitely hear me say the same things many times throughout my time as a streamer. Right? That's just how it is, right? Because you don't have a couple of weeks to write a stream, right? You don't sit down and you be like, we're going to talk about this, that, let's do a bit of research around this and that. And then you'll be like, okay, now I'm going to stream for 2 to 4 hours. And then you're done. You're going to need another couple of weeks to. So it's a lot of repetition. Or what you do, right? I think so. This is I'm right. So we're gonna touch on something hazardous here, right? But this is why I think Pirate Software got a bit of an unfair shake, right? When it came to the whole "I work at Blizzard" thing that people made fun of him for saying, right? But what streamer do you watch repeatedly that doesn't repeat themselves, right? because you get new viewers that's never seen it before. And if you say something only once, that means that everything you do has to be new, unique, and that is just not gonna happen, right? So for that, I think he got a bit of an unfair shake. People make fun of him for that, but it was obviously a big thing that was valuable to him in his life. So he's gonna keep saying that because he's saying it to new people as well. It's just new to his stream, right? But I know it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a fire hazard to bring that name up, right? My rants are unique, maybe, but I don't rant that frequently though. Footlong, my ramblings or my ranty stuff, like yesterday, I was pissed off with some nonsensical thing about Apple. Maybe, oh yeah, the charge port of the mouse, right? But that doesn't happen frequently, right? I am rarely that annoyed with things, right? And I get into the swing of it, right? I do the puzzles, the contemplation of a problem, feeling everything fall into place. None of this exists where you prompt with a goal and walk away. No, absolutely not, right? So that's a valid, right? I think so, right? But then again, what do I know? But so that makes you, in my book, Crutcher, a category A programmer, right? Hello, Runtime. How you doing, buddy? We're gonna get to the networking, right? So yeah, the category A programmer, the programmer who likes to program, who likes to think, right? So I was talking to this guy on my Discord yesterday for a bit. He's been in the community for a long time. He left and then he came back. I gave him a hard time because of the nature of some things unrelated to what I'm about to talk about, all right? But I gave him a bit of a hard time for that because I thought he deserved it, right? But here's the thing, right? So he asked me yesterday. He asked me if I ever code using an AI, right? And I don't, right? I've done it on stream. And I like to be absolutely clear, right? What I don't do today doesn't mean that I won't do tomorrow, right? So I try not to use the terms like always and never, right? And when I do, they never mean always and never. And then I said never there. Oh my God. Logic trap. Okay, anyway. So he asked me if I ever do that, right? And I find this I was being polite when I answered and said not really, right? Because I think this is the thing, though, right? There are software that can solve your coding issue, but then there's also existing solutions that you can just buy into. But the thing is, I like the programming aspect, right? I like to write code. I like to think of the problem, and I'm not in a hurry. And I think this is where we are, like, we're going a bit wrong. We've gone wrong a long time ago. But if you think about it, right? Now, if you get a text message, you're supposed to answer that text. If you get an email, you're supposed to answer that email straight away, right? I don't work like that, but a lot of people do. They're like, you get an email, and then like 2 hours later, it's like, hi, dude, you get a text message. Hi, dude, you didn't answer my email. Is everything okay? Yes. Right. I think so in my head, you can answer a text message the same day or the next day. It's fine. An email, you can wait half an hour to a week, depending on the circumstance and the nature of the email. The email might never get a reply, right? But it's like everything is like, oh, you got to do it now, right? And where are you going? Why are you in such a hurry? If you enjoy programming, why are you getting rid of the part that you enjoy? And why are you rushing towards something, right? Hello, Rensky. I was gonna answer you on Discord, but I don't. I thought I'd just wind you up in here instead, right? But why are we in such a hurry all the time? Like, I get this from a business perspective, right? Gonna have an embarrassing talk with the manager. I get immediate response fatigue from work, so in my personal communication, I tend not to answer text emails immediately. I think that's the right thing to do, right? I think we're in a hurry because we have deadlines. What's our deadline, Daylip? Oh, we get there, Rensky. What's our deadline to you? Right? I'm okay. Right. Let's make a distinction again, because I feel like when we live in like different worlds here a little bit, right? When I talk about slowing down in life, taking it easy, enjoying things and doing whatever, I am very much specifically not talking about your work life, right? You go to work and you do something to get money, right? That's what you do. And if you're a category A programmer and you are being forced to use AI, then this is doubly true for you, right? So deadlines don't exist outside of work, right? There's things that you should do and then you die, right? That's your actual deadline, right? That's shit you should get done before you die. And that probably includes clearing your browser history and taking out the rubbish, right? So where are you in such a hurry then, right? Let's take work out of the equation. And the thing is, you don't really have to be in a hurry at work either, right? Unless there's a real emergency. If you ask the people above you, do we need to hurry over this? They are never going to say, no, I want you to take as much time as possible, because you know the amount of money that we pay you per month, that is almost twice that we have to pay to keep you here, okay? We're paying you X, but you're costing us X times 2. So please slow down, put your feet up, and have another fucking coffee on the company with you, right? They're never gonna say, yeah, take it easy, dude. It's all right, man, all right? I'm a human, you're a human. Listen, you don't even have to come in tomorrow, right? I heard you got a new bed and some new bed linen and a new duvet, right? Why don't you take that for a spin, man? All right? I throw in an extra day of paid holiday for you, okay? What's that? This isn't real? You're damn right it's not, right? That is not the average experience for people who have jobs, right? I think it's the CEO of my previous workplace sent me home early. Well, the thing is, Rensky, they will do that if you keep touching the stuff, okay? And we talked about this, all right? You're welcome, Daily. So, but here's the thing, right? Where are you in your life? Where are you in such a hurry? What deadlines have you imposed on yourself, right? So, I have a friend, Flex, and my friend has a lot of side projects, right? It was just one time man, but many time women, right? Okay, sorry, you're gonna computer. There we go. Okay, sorry, there probably was a bit of stuttering happening there because my computer sort of gave me the middle finger. Stop working there. So the thing is, I was talking about this. My computer just went to sleep, right? Because I'm not doing enough. But it's warm up. What do you want from me? So my friend has a bunch of side projects, and he seems incredibly stressed about his side projects. And to me, that's insane, right? I'm not going to tell my friend he's insane. I'm sure he knows. If you're watching this, right, you're insane, right? I think he has all this like self-imposed deadlines on his side projects. I gotta finish this thing. Oh, I gotta finish this thing. Oh, I'm starting another project. Oh my god, I have so many projects. I'm gonna finish it. If you want to start a project, then start a project, right? No one is going to take that away from you. No one's gonna stand over you with a stick and hit you across the fingers if you start another side quest, right? But these are obstacles of your manufacturing, right? If you take all the dishes out of the dishwasher and throw them on the floor, you did that, right? There's no like magical dishwasher goblin that just turned up and did this. No, you did this, right? If we're doing this to ourselves, so we're starting like side projects and stuff, they have no like real world value as of yet. If you don't want to do them, delete them, right? There's like a strange inherent guilt in unfinished projects. We're making jokes about this as programs. Oh, I got all this like unfinished project. I say that GitHub is like a graveyard for side quests sometimes, right? My GitHub account is. I looked through my project list, and I think there's like 190 projects in there. And some of them are completely meaningless. Some of them are just repositories I created to dump code somewhere before I went somewhere, and then I never did anything with it, right? But there's no guilt around that, right? There is no, I have to do this. Oh my God, I have to finish this stuff. How insane are we as people when we are getting stressed out and burn out from our own hobbies, right? Like how wrong have you gone if you are getting burnout from hobbies, right? And then at what point did it stop being fun, right? For me as a programming contractor, I fist bump you because I've been there. I get paid less because the amount of time it takes for me to solve a problem is considerably shorter, and there are only a finite amount of PRs I can submit before it's bombarding the reviewers. I saw something insane yesterday. I saw something absolutely insane yesterday. But I'm not going to talk about it now. It might come up when for my second stream today. But I read a post by Christoph. Who I'm streaming with him yesterday. We read him yesterday. I'm streaming with him today, right? He talked about poker and programming, but not in a fun bilateral sense, but in a boring, in a boring pull request, let's do work kind of sense, right? But it was an interesting post, right? The post I can actually bring up because I thought it was pretty good. Let me find Christoph. Where are you? There you are. And where is the URL? Contribution poker. All right, let's have a look at this thing. No one wants light mode browser. Could you just not? So this post by Christoph. Let's dump that in the chat as well, right? Scope creep is the best. Yeah, definitely. I have no guilt, like pride in scope creep and the geometric progression on my project's timeline. I don't know what a geometric progress looks like, but I'm with you. Hello, Prevan. Thank you so much. It's time to rewrite all Rust code in Brain. You're not wrong, Prevan. You're not wrong. If he's playing that game and wants to play it, your friend has built an imaginary castle with imaginary walls so that he is more likely to finish stuff. It does not make sense if after building the walls he just whimsically breaks them because it's all imaginary. Well, the thing is that this castle is more metaphorically a prison, and it's making him sick, right? Like he's not. The thing is, he's not the only one. I've seen other people behave like this as well, right? We could probably like solve all the things that we're doing on stream. We could probably like solve this with AI. We could just like AI do this for me. But then why are we here, right? Then I have no content to make. For me, being a streamer is relatively simple, right? I sit down and I do something, and then I suddenly just turn the mouth into autopilot, and bullshit comes out, and that's just happening while I do other things, right? It's a tremendously useful skill. I should go into politics, right? Our friend who estimates 6 months to fix company's tech debt, and now management is forcing them to fix in 2 weeks using Claude. Hello, Skyark. So, but the thing is, this post here by Christoph, I think that, so if I say I don't want AI generated PRs to my project, I find it hard to put into words why, because I think it's very important that people know that I am not hostile to you if you're using AI, right? Like if you're a vibe coder, I don't sit here and think that you are worth less than a non-vibe coder. I don't sit here and think that you are a piece of shit. I don't think that you are not a real programmer or anything of the sort. Like, I'm not gonna judge you for how you do things, right? But here's the thing. And this post puts it into perspective. This post, I'm not going to read through it. Yeah, I'll post a link. But to sum it up, right? When you review someone else's PR, if you get a PR from me for your project, you're building a game engine, right? And you're getting it's just early days. You're getting a PR from me with 300 lines of code changed, and I'm making some claims that you kind of have to verify, right? So you are new to the world of game programming and optimization, and I submit a pull request that's like fixes auto vectorization in your entity distribution code, right? And I've implemented, like I'm doing like a lot of like weird things with like packing data together in new data structures you haven't seen before, and I'm doing a bunch of these things. And now you have to sit. They have to make. There's two choices here, right? So one, you have to figure out, or it's not two choices. One, you have to figure out if this is AI generated, right? Because an AI can hallucinate and sound correct about it, whereas a human is less likely to hallucinate. So people do say pretentious and profoundly stupid things, technobabble, pretending to be knowledgeable, right? And sometimes they are, but they don't have the ability to communicate this either. So they just sound and look like technobabble to me sometimes, right? Which is unfortunate for them. So do you have this pull request from me, 300 lines of code, doing something that you look like, what is this wizardry, right? But here's the thing. If I'm taking an interest in your project and you spend time reviewing this pull request and you're like, okay, what's this actually doing? And I'll be like, oh, well, you know, if we do this, then blah, blah, cache line, blah, blah, auto vectorization. And you're like, okay. And I'll just show you how this works or whatever. Like we're having a conversation about this thing. This is one PR we're talking about, right? So one PR, we get into this conversation. I like your project. I like what you're doing. You understand finally this pull request. We spent like maybe a couple of days back and forth on this pull request talking about this stuff, right? And you decide you're going to merge this pull request. You're not quite sure what it does yet, but you decide to merge it because the tests are passing. It's fine. And you are inviting me into your project, right? So you've accepted my pull request. You said, good luck, looks good, whatever, right? And please keep them coming. And I'll be like, ah, cool, right? But then the other reality could be that I just generated this pull request in 30 minutes using ChatGPT. And I submit this pull request to you. Right, you're still gonna have the back and forth over a couple of days with me, but you're not really talking to me, right? Whatever you say, I just put that through ChatGPT and then spits it back to you, right? So you're not actually having a conversation with me. You're having a conversation with an AI. And the frustrating thing here is that you could have just used an AI to generate this code yourself. Then what do you need me for, right? I am just soaking up a lot of time. Right, and I'm just auto-generating stuff. You are thinking you have a conversation with me, but I'm just putting everything you say through AI, which generates these long, rambling responses that you have to read through, and it's taking up, right? It's taking up like the course of days for you, right? Where you could have just, okay, fuck it, I give up. I'm just gonna pay for Claude then, because at this point it'll save you money because of all the time this takes up, right? And imagine that you have like 100 people doing this, right? 100 people are submitting pull requests. None of them are the actual human. The thing is, if you're not a human investing in the project, why should I invest in you? The only thing you're saying is pay for some kind of AI thing to solve these problems, right? Like, because you're just an interface to an AI through a pull request. That is like very inefficient, right? That is terribly inefficient. So I personally don't like AI generated pull requests because it takes up a lot of my time and I'm not investing in you, the submitter of the pull request. I'm investing in whatever plan you're on, right? And I don't want that for me, right? Good morning, Skyheart. Thank you for the positive reading. Yeah, I think it's a good way. It's a good way of understanding why people don't want to accept AI generated pull requests. It's a good justification why they don't accept PRs into SIG, right? AI generated PRs or like AI code, and I think that it makes sense, right? Because you are talking about investing in another person, right? Not another robot. You can surround yourself with robots. And here's the other thing, right? You're not bringing anything new to the table. You're just auto-generating something that someone else, I could have done that, right? If I wanted it to be auto, I could today go and pay for a plan and solve all our problems, right? All my problems with the code that I'm working on, right? But that to me, as a category A programmer, that to me ruins the fun, right? It's like you buy a brand new game. You buy a brand new game and it comes with the cheat codes. So you are just using the cheat codes. And if your goal is to finish the game, bar any means, then you're on the right track. You're absolutely on the right track, right? Punch in the cheat codes, IDDQD, get out of there, shoot a cyber demon in the bollocks, and call it a day, right? That's because that was your goal, right? But yeah. I did say no to an ARP the other day, mostly because it was slop, but also it was 300 lines of code when my change was less than 100 and test didn't test, and I want to know the code, all right? But there is this thing. Okay, I'll show you guys something. I'll show you something, but this might come up in a conversation in my next stream today with Christoph. But I'll show you this. Okay, this is an old camel. It's an AI generated pull request that looks like this. Okay. Let's say that it took you some time to generate this code. I don't know, right? A couple of days maybe, right? But look at the amount of code that you have here, right? Does it show how many lines of code anywhere? All right, you change 147 files. There you go. 13,000 lines of code, okay? Like you have to be a very self-centered kind of individual if you automatically generate something and then you want a community of programmers to verify that what you generated is correct. Because here's the thing. You don't know if this is correct, right? You didn't write this, you have no idea, and you're asking other people to spend their time reviewing your robotic output. It's not your output, it's something else, right? 13,000 lines of code. And this has to be reviewed by people, right? That's just problematic. Now, if you work somewhere where you use AI and you have AI reviewing the AI code, well, then it's not a point of there's not a friction point. There's not a bottleneck there, right? Because you generate something and something else will review it. And we're not talking about the quality of the outcome here. We're just talking about the process, right? So if you have a project that if you like to vibe code and you have a project that doesn't accept AI PRs, like don't be mad at them for not accepting your code or for basically saying, we don't want your AI generated code. Don't be mad at them. Think instead about the cognitive load that you're applying to this collective mind, right? You are saying you're one person who's saying that you're so important that you want all these people's time, basically. You want all the people to pour over this and find flaws in the code that you didn't even bother writing yourself. You want a human to review the robot work, right? Don't be upset if that gets met with some friction, right? Can we call vibe code as vibrators? I'll think on it, right? Hello, Marvin. How you doing? My boss uses AI more than me and uses AI to review my AI generated PRs. It's tiring. My lemming is more unique than your lemming. And I think that's like the general thing, right? There's a lot of added code. Yeah. 13,000 lines of code, right? So this PR might come up in conversation on my second stream today. But I want it to be clear that I'm not saying that you shouldn't use AI to write code, right? I just want people, and I keep stressing this point, I want people to be more understanding of each other, right? If you be like, oh, I got this like perfect generated solution that fixes your problem, and you are met with, I don't want your solution. And if your brain is like stuck in, but why don't you want my answer? I have the answer to your question. I have the answer, the solution to your problem. Why don't you want my answer? you are expressing an inability to understand other people, right? You are basically not able to think outside of yourself, which is how I, as someone who doesn't like to use an agent to generate code, I can still understand that maybe you do, right? I definitely thought it was well impressive when this stuff started popping up. And I went through a period where I felt like, kind of feel a bit pointless now, don't I? All right, sitting here, punching in numbers and letters, looking at errors that are probably easy to spot for a computer, right? But the thing that I never said to the guy yesterday, that I wanted to say this to the guy in Discord yesterday without pushing any particular buttons. I wanted to say to him, but are you aware of the moment when, because he's like, I don't vibe code. I don't vibe code. I have this thing that works with my editor, but I don't know exactly what he said. But the thing is, he said the vibe coding is like generating code without reading the code, right? But I think there is something that should be noted. If you are a person and you use AI tooling, are you aware of when you, like, are you aware of the difference, right? Because there's a difference between you staring at a blank page and you're coming up with a solution, and you're staring at a page and you're given a suggestion and you're evaluating the suggestion, right? That there is a problem, okay? There is a situation in dire need of a solution, and you have nothing. Like, you just see the problem and that's it, right? Or you are using a tool that has information about the problem and is giving you suggestions, okay? And you'll be like, oh, that suggestion sounds good. I'll take that, right? Are you aware of the distinction here? Because you have pretty much given up on the entire problem-solving aspect, right? You didn't come up with a solution. You might think that you did, but the solution was given to you, which means you stopped doing that kind of thinking. You are now evaluating a decision tree that is vastly smaller than if you're staring at a blank canvas, right? Again, nothing wrong with this. But the important thing is that if you think that these two situations are the same, you are fooling yourself. And I think that is heading in the same direction as watching 400 hours of Rust content on YouTube, thinking that you somehow will be a programmer at the end of it without writing a single line of code, right? Anyway, that's it for my morning ramblings. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Buy my book, How to Be an Incel with Rust. And then we're going to go and do some game dev. Let's do multi-pants. There we go. And server. I was really excited about the solution to this yesterday. And I said to my wife, in passing, we went out for a walk, and I said to her, man, I'm so excited about this thing that I've been working on, right? And she goes, oh, really? Tell me what it is. And I was like, I can't. And she goes, what do you mean you can't, right? And I said, well, I don't know how to express this to you in a way that makes sense. Like you are not going to understand why I'm excited about this, right? Look at me move my little guy, right? She's not going to be understanding. How do I convey this to her? How do I tell her why this is exciting, right? It's just a guy moving on the screen. But it isn't just a guy moving on the screen, right? It's a guy that is moving on a screen, letting a network know about it, doing the reconciliation, and it's seamless. You have no idea this is happening across the network, right? Let me show you what this also looks like, right? So cargo run 1, okay? And let's, oh, biscuits. We need to. And let's float this window over here, and let's run this again, right? So cargo run, typing. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to learn how to type again. But look at this. That's reality, right?
what we're seeing here is make-believe, and what we're seeing here is reality, right? This is the state of this is the source of truth, right? But it's nowhere near this smooth, right? And I think that's a really clever thing, right? So the person, Gabriel something, who wrote that post that I based this on, I don't know if they came up with it or not, but I will give them credit for it, because I didn't look any further. This is genius, right? This is great. Peace wants others to do their job. What a novel surprise, indeed, right? I think I would reject that pull request if I was human that wrote it too. That's way too much change in my... Yes, Skyhawk, but then it is most likely the work of someone who do not understand other people, right? Who, even if it's the most brilliant thing in the world, you probably should be... If I think that I am this hyper genius, right? That I can handcraft that PR and it's gonna be meaningful and good. Before I do that, I should probably engage some of these people in the community and go, listen, guys, I am here. I am smarter than all of you combined, okay? That's not ignorance, sorry. That's not arrogance. It's just observation, right? But the good news is, I think I have this thing that's going to solve all these issues that you have, right? It's going to be a lot of code, but are you up for this, right? That's how the conversation should have gone, right? Especially with the arrogance part, right? But look at this guy. Look at him go, right? So we are constantly correcting this guy's position in the past, right? So that's what's happening, right? We are doing things in the past. I'm a genius. All right. No, that's not it. You addressed your wife, man. I addressed my wife, man, but your wife looks like a man. Checkmate. Anyway, that's the AI taking form. Hello, Gandalf. How you doing? I never seen the implementation like that in action. That's a nice demo. I think it's cool. Thank you. You ain't no hyper genius. You are at most a possessor of supreme divine intellect. I think no one has ever accused me of that, though, right? I think it's a bit very... I say to my wife, I said, I'm probably average intelligence. So she is I think she is either a genius or she's like a couple of points away from being a genius, right? And the thing is, I don't mind that, right? I don't mind that my IQ is lower than hers, but she seemed to think that, like, every time I said that, I said, oh, my IQ is probably about like 60. I struggle with a door handle. She's like, no, you are way smarter than that. And like, like, she's very protective of my feelings. And I think it's very sweet. Wait, that's just condescending. Jokes aside, right? What is a genius? Someone with an IQ of 140 or more is considered a genius, right? Why out you? Because I think it's time that people knew that I was your wife foot long. I think we should come clean to the world and let them know what's what. Okay, so we've done this, but as you saw on the window over here, it was just like jerky popping around like that. So we are now going to embark on the final destination. That way, there was a movie. Many movies, on the final journey of this, which is the interpolation of the remote entity. All right. How profound that sounded, right? So what we need to do is we need to look at the other networked entities or other players. We need to look at their history and we need to interpolate. That's what we're going to do, right? That's how it goes, Gandalf, right? And a slice of cheesecake. Having a morning cup of brain go-go juice. Yeah, I got mine here. It's all ready. No ice today. Is it too warm to drink yet? Not quite. We're almost at the perfect temperature. I like this thing because it was very cheap. It's very small. And it doesn't keep the temperature for that long, right? About an hour, okay? Which gives me time to finish my tea, drink my disgusting water that definitely... Oh, maybe I drank all the gross things in there. I drink mine warm at 50-55. I don't have my thermometer here. I can't check it. Why is that not in here? It's in the workshop. Anyway, entity interpolation and you, an upcoming sitcom. No, I don't know. Let's go and have a look at this thing, right? So I pulled the example code from Gabriel Network Interpolation Games. Oh my god, lol, help, search engines are broken. All right, and here we go. So we go to our live demo, and you can see this here, right? You can see how jerky this is. We did prediction yesterday, and we did reconciliation. So this is without reconciliation. Blah, 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 right? You can see how it kind of just jumps around. Then we add reconciliation. Sexy, right? And then we look at the other entity, and this is what we're seeing, right? This thing is jerky, like beef jerky. And now we're going to add interpolation. And that's going to make this thing smooth, baby. All right? So we're interpolating. This is the last thing to implement. So if we look at the source code of this page, we can see this quite neatly written out here. But who likes to read code in a web browser? What are you, 5? Let's go to temp, open up the JavaScript for this thing. And we're going to look at how interpolation is actually being done. But before we do that, I need a little bit of a refresher on this thing. So we're going to read through this as well, right? How about drinking non-disgusting water? Well, the disgusting water has more stuff in it that I need, right? If you didn't know this, there is a supplement called creatine or creatine. I've heard both pronunciations, right? Or creatine monohydrate. And this stuff is usually commonly taken by people who work out and like to flex in front of mirrors, right? And I don't do that on stream, but working out and flexing. But it also has another added bonus. You can consume this without caring about the gym. It actually has loads of the irony that escapes my brain now. Lots of reports and what do you call this thing? Studies. Lots of studies to back up that this is really good for your brain, right? That smooth lump of fat underneath the bone in your head can benefit from creatine, whether you work out or not. And I can definitely tell when I haven't had it. So now I take this every day, right? Brain and muscle, right? No, it's not sparkling. It's water with creatine. And one of the good things about it, unlike all the other supplements, this thing doesn't taste of anything. It does change the texture and flavor of some things. If you add it to yogurt, why would you? Then it makes the yogurt taste a little bit strange. If you add it to tea, why would you? Who tried that? Then it also makes the tea a little bit weird. But in water, you won't be able to tell, right? And it has, I think, once you're through like the loading period, or if you just start taking like 5 grams a day, the worst thing that's going to happen is that you'll get some stomach discomfort. Not stomach pain, discomfort. If you, and you can get a bit bloated apparently. Some people have that reaction, but I don't, so I'll take it. Let disgusting coffee taste, mask it, but it doesn't have much of a flavor. And the thing is, I don't think coffee is disgusting anymore. I got used to it, right? If you're not able to tell, then why is it disgusting? Because when you add it in, it looks like it looks disgusting things aren't by flavor alone, right? Something can look disgusting and off-putting, right? Like uncanny valley, right? That's an expression that I've heard a lot. Misused, right? Uncanny valley is when something looks close enough to human, but not human enough, right? That's the uncanny valley, right? And that's something that is quite frightening, right? It's quite that is disgusting and off-putting, right? So if you look at an uncanny valley robot, spelling is a thing of the past anyway. You'll see you'll see that it doesn't look quite right. Right? This is the uncanny valley. It looks human, close enough to be human, but it's in the uncanny valley, which means that it is more frightening than not, right? And that's so disgusting is not just flavor, right? Insert bathwater joke. But the thing is, if you have no health reason to not take it, I think you should try it. See if it affects the clarity of your thinking. It's not going to make you into a genius. You're not going to wake up and be like, oh my God, NP complete pants, right? And then you're off to the races. No. It to me, I feel it when I haven't had it, but it's not a miracle drug or anything of the sort, right? But speaking of, did you guys ever try the miracle fruit? That's pretty wild. Do you remember that? You can buy like a powder or whatever, right? And it changes how things taste. So lemon tastes sweet and these kind of things. It's completely wild, right? How it works, but it changes the way you perceive flavor. So you can like drink vinegar and lemons and stuff, and it tastes sweet. It's a head fuck, right? Okay, let's interpolate, shall we? Enjoy it, Enrico. What's the morning temperature for you right now, though? Entity interpolation. Okay. I'm here too. All right. And let's have a look at this thing. If entity interpolation, then interpolate entities. Well, that makes sense. And where are we doing this? In the update function on the client. Are we doing an interpolation on the server? No. Why would we? Okay. So this is our last piece of such and such, right? So let's look at entity interpolation. Fiddlesticks. I was hoping this was going to be a one-liner. Maths. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I have to be somewhere. See you tomorrow. All right. We have a render timestamp. We're going to take 1,000 milliseconds divided by the server update rate. We know that. That's our fixed step. So that's a non-issue. For every entity we have on the client, again, should definitely change the sync the worlds, right? If it is our entity, then we're going to continue. So the first thing we can do is we can start building up entities, right? But before we do that, there is also a position buffer here. So this one is going through all our entities. Let's see where the entities come from, right? So entities dot something. How do we add things to our entities? Okay, so entities is a dictionary. Oh, right. Okay, what do we add to our entities? Probably from here, right? If state entity, there is this entity ID. And what do we do if it's not? Otherwise, if we do entity interpolation, then we do entity position buffer. Okay, so we have a history for our entities then. Okay, that makes sense. But wait, isn't that a little bit weird? If the entity ID is this entity, meaning if the state that we're looking at is the current player state, then we do all this. Otherwise, we push it to the buffer. Right? But didn't this say that... Beep. Wasn't this saying that this will never happen then, right? No, that is not what this is saying. That is not what this is saying at all. It's going through all the entities and doing that. Okay, I gotcha. Right now it's 28. Ooh. That is a bit warm, buddy. Luckily, it's not that warm here. Okay. We're not quite at that stage yet. There we go. Ah. This water's not cold. Okay. We're done with all the boring drinks, and I spilled some. Now we get to enjoy our coffee. Now it's coffee time. Coffee time. Okay, so we're gonna skip our own entity. We're looking at a render timestamp, which is now minus. So we're looking at the past. I think this is trying to get the past frame, right? But I'm not sure why we would do that with a render timestamp, but we'll find out, right? So entity position buffer, while buffer length is larger than or equal to 2, and okay, so we're getting a reference to the position buffer. That's what we're doing. Drop all their positions. Okay. I see that. Hello, Tanaka. How you doing, buddy? You've given up problem solving. You're redoing third-party JavaScript code. Oh, yes, that is exactly it. So we are shifting the buffer, which I assume means drop things out of there, right? So while there are more than 2 things in here, keep popping these, right? Let's optimize your fan curves together. What do you got going, Tanaka? What do you got for us? Interpolate between the 2 surrounding authoritative positions. So we get the X and Y. No, what does that mean? That must be some kind of timestamp then, right? So you have the first one, X0, T0, and then the second one. So there are 2 different types of values, right? I don't think I have ever even looked at that, Tanaka. What does that do? Like what how do you even do that? What is it? It's OBS. Oh yeah, of course. We're streaming 4K to YouTube. Oh, this coffee flavor is growing on me. Anyway, so we're going to use the render timestamp minus T0. So T0 and T1 are time. There must be the server timestamp, right? And then we save these for outline rendering. Okay. Okay, this is and we do this if there is no history. Okay, right? Okay. I don't even know if my computer fans are doing anything. Maybe they are. I'm just so used to the hum of this thing, right? Some people spend days to take out the last 1-2% of performance because the system might run cooler, or you want your fans to not spin up down so much and reduce fan noise.
I don't care about either one, but it sounds like a fun group activity. So what is it? What do we do, Danaka? What do we change? Where do we change things? It's weird. Coffee is weird. It shouldn't be in. It is enjoyable, but maybe it's not really good. But it is somehow enjoyable, right? Okay. And if there is no interpolation, then we just set that to 0. So, so are we changing x0? Okay, we're changing the position. Ah, all right. Okay, I see what this is. We can ignore this then. So this is what we're doing. So we're looping and slurping between the gloopins, right? The fans only react to on CPU by default, but not GPU heat. So when the GPU is hot and smoky, the case fans not supported. I have a liquid air cooler, so the fans react to CPU heat instead of liquid temps, and the cooling liquid in the end. Okay. I have air cooler. Yes. But that doesn't answer the question. Like, what is it that you're doing? Like, what do you install monitoring software? Do you do this in the BIOS? What's the process? Okay, so we need to keep the last 2 interpolations in there, right? If I'm gonna do it, I need to know how, right? I think it's a fun language, but to each their own, of course. So what's the point of even storing the history of the remote entities? Well, before we do that, let's have a look at the last bit. Where do we get this from? So we have an entity position buffer that we write into. Yeah, it's the timestamp and the position. And the timestamp, is this on the client or on the server? It's on the client. Interesting. You find one glory tool that handles all your fans and runs in the background as a system daemon. Undervolting might help. You lower the CPU voltage to get lower temps with little to no performance impact. After configured, it will take over control of all your fans from the OS and adjust their speeds based on temps as it's configured. Okay, so it's something that you run on your system that does what? Like it keeps sampling data, and where does this data come from? All right, okay. So where were you? There we go. So we're supposed to write in the timestamp of this thing and the position. But why is it referring to it as server timestamp then? It's very much not that. No, it doesn't. It says render timestamp. Maybe the server update rate is also the render rate. Or is this the alpha value maybe? Comes from hardware monitor. Mostly the kernel provides all the data. Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe I don't know why I would, but why don't we open this up? But I'm a bot. Damn it. Okay, fan control can bring various benefits to your system, quiet the working system, power saving, blah blah blah. Okay.
LM sensor used to control the speed of CPU case fans, more suitable for desktops and laptops where fan controls are available via SysFS. Support for new motherboards may not yet be in the kernel. LM sensor. First thing you do is run sensor detect. This will detect all the sensor present and they will be used for fan control. After that, run the following to check if it detects sensors correctly. Okay, so we need this thing. Yeah. Is the browser pinned to this location? Not at all. I have browser windows in various locations. We can have a browser down here as well if we wanted to. But it's kind of hard to read this stuff. So I don't. Okay, so we need the timestamp and the position to do the interpolation. And are we always interpolating? Interpolate entities. When is this happening? Is this happening on every, in our world is on every update call, right? Okay, so why are we getting the timestamp here? Maybe we could just do. Okay, let's do this. Let's write a buffer of entities. This is the last thing to do, and it's gonna be a little bit silly, but we can do it nonetheless, right? So let's have remote players be a map of player ID and sprite ID. Maybe that's what we do. This will reduce player sprite as well. This way we won't have player sprites anymore. The snapping areas is this is just i3, the i3 window manager. It is one of those things though that once you get into it, it's gonna be really hard to go back. I think that people who have abandoned tiling for stacking are probably the minority of people who get into stacking or into tiling though, right? But it is a period of a bit of a mess though, right? You're gonna have to get used to it, and some things don't work well, because everything tries to be full screen, right? If we go to our new workspace, right? If I start a new application, it's gonna be full screen. If I start more applications, they just want to take up all the space that's available, right? And then you can organize how you do this as well, right? So if you want this to be, no, that's the wrong button. There we go, right? You can keep splitting things down into smaller and smaller versions, right? And you basically get maximum use of your workspace if you remove all the gaps and borders and stuff. So for laptops, it's great, right? I have gaps and borders on because I'm streaming from this computer, right? But yeah, it's definitely a different way of using your computer, I suppose. Tilt. Players. There we go, right? I found a Reddit thread. If you really want to see all the i3 and Hyperland and all that stuff, Bunny, just look up Unix porn. It's a subreddit where people have spent a lot of time rising their setups to show like different status bars and window decorations and everything. You can just look through there to get an idea for what it can look like, right? I'm a basic beast, so I just do this. Okay, so remote players. Let's update. This is gonna be the weirdest one, right? So here we're removing a bunch of player sprites, but we're not going to do that, are we? We are going to have a sprite ID associated with every player. So I guess what we do is this one here is the awkward one, right? Yeah, for programming, to me, it's hard to beat this setup, right? This is a very pleasant setup for programming. Maybe we just ignore this one for now, and then we say sprite ID. For player in delta.players, let's do this, right? And if the player does not exist, we have to create it. Right? So we have the position, we have the input, we have the player ID, and we have the frame, which I guess we could probably ignore here. Right, and then if we're gonna match on, no, we can't do that. If all right, let's do something silly. If self.remote players, yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? Do we have a contains for this? We do not. I don't think we have the entry API either. So this was not really meant for that. So this is a little bit of a hack now just to get this working. Okay, let's add a contains. I guess we should use the same trait bounds. And just say that. That will give us contains. Okay, but apparently not like that. Like that. Okay, now we can check if it contains a player ID. All right, you can fiddlesticks. Okay, if it doesn't contain the player ID, then we're gonna insert that, right? So state.remote players.insert player ID, and we need the sprite ID as well, which means we have to create the sprite. I don't think we need player sprites anymore then. Oh, no, it just I turn off I'm in streamer mode, so I don't get notifications, but it turned up on my phone, so I had to disconnect my phone from my headphones. Right? So if it contains, then we're gonna insert that into remote players. I think that's correct. That is the sprite ID and the player ID. Then we can get rid of this for now. We don't do the cleanup that we should do here. we should remove the players, but that should probably be sent as like a world update. We need events from the server to be sent, not just a here's the world delta, but rather this is what happened since last time you were here, kind of thing, right? Here's a log that we need to deal with, right? That might contain things like, oh, Kevin died, George disconnected, like whatever, so we can react on the client to these things, right? Okay, and then we are going to go through all of this. So we're gonna get the sprite, and what? So we're looking at this again. I don't think we need to do that. It's the position. Here we go, right? So sprite is this. That's the sprite ID. Oh, my hairy uncle. It's so weird to type like this, but I'm trying. Okay. Then we're gonna say that the sprite position is this new updated position. And if the ID or the sprite ID is the same as our player ID, then we're gonna do a bunch of this. Apparently not. Did I goof up? Oh, hang on. Oh no, I deleted all that. Did I say we didn't need a frame? Apparently we do need a frame. And the sprite ID. No, it's the player ID. Oh my goodness. No, I haven't turned it on. What do you guys want? Can I get some? Can I get a suggestion for a genre, maybe, right? The genre, the vibe, the style, right? AC/DC, that's a band. Classical music. Okay. Asking the audience, I hear Celine Dion. Okay. We had Enya there for a second, didn't we? Once. We can try this. My heart will go. In Flames. No, it's never In Flames. In Flames is never the right answer. Okay. So there's something kind of missing here, and I am a bit wary about this one. So we're gonna roll back this part. So here we are not doing what I thought. Yeah, we are. Okay, we're good. All right, so that was just dumbassery to write that. Okay. Pertains to the current player. They will affectionately move their pleasant self to... Okay, I'm done. All right, so does this work now if we go and delete all this? I was supposed to read through that, weren't I? All right, it does work. But wait, does it really work? Well, it looks like it works. I'd say that works. Beauty. Ah! Okay, so we have now dropped the list of IDs instead. So player sprites can go. Yes, it can. Okay, now we need to store a history for our remote players. No, it's not remote players. It's just going to be players then, right? Player history is a secondary map of, and that's, you know what, that's what you are as well, right? Is that safe to make it a secondary map? It kind of is, but I think we're okay not doing that. No, we're gonna use a regular map. And we just have to store a tuple in here, don't we? That is not a great way of doing this, is it? It could be a vector of position, right? We don't have to be that particular about this. There we go, right? Yeah, it's a bit in the low end, maybe. It wasn't particularly exciting either, but I think it's good to have a bit of noise in our lives, right? Sorry, YouTubers, but they will penalize me if there's something with this music that they are unhappy with, right? Okay, so if it's not the player ID, then we need to mutate the history, which I think well, anyway. So state dot player history. Insert player ID and an empty vec. So we know that there's always a history in there, right? Like so. Trucks. Oh, get rid of them, man. But we're supposed to store the server time as well, not just the position, right? But we'll come back to this. Here we have to be a little bit cool about things here. If the history length is 2, right? So it's got 0 and 1 in there. Then we're going to do history.swap remove, right? 0. So this would get rid of this one and place this one at the top, right? But in reality, what this will do is it will change this to 1 0 followed by a pop, right? So we are not unnecessarily moving the vector. So once we allocated for our two entities in there, we're done. So since this is going to have a fixed size of 2, well, not fixed, but it's going to grow to 2. So when we insert this here, we can change this for a vec with capacity of 2. Okay, so now we are adding our history in there. If we ever reach 2, then we make sure that there's only 1 when we push. Okay. And now we're supposed to interpolate between these two. But they are using the time. What is this? This is the wrong project. They're using the time for this. They're saying the current time minus this. But I think we can interpolate the position between with the alpha value, right? So we'll get the history. Okay, let's see if we can do this though, right? So this is the player. And then remote players. Can we say for player in state dot remote players? Is that a thing? Is that a player history maybe? Right, we can't iterate over it like this. Can we call iter here? Does that work? It does. This gives us the player ID and the vector. Let's do an iter mute instead. So this will give us the player ID and the vector here, so we can get the sprite. That'll be this guy. No. Yes. And that's the player, right? And that is, well, that's the history that we have. Oh, really? That's supposed to be... Oh, right. So we need to get the sprite ID, which is... No, wait. Are you... That's the player history. All right. So sprite ID is going to be state dot what? Players. Player ID. Okay. And now we need to interpolate the history, right? So there's nothing for us to do if we don't have two values in there, right? So history 0, history 1, and then we'll do a position lerp between these two. And let's try time alpha here. Okay, so now the tedium happens when we have to look at the actual, we have to run the code, right? Let's clear out some of this debug stuff. Look at the lag, 450 milliseconds of lag. That's just gorgeous, right? All right, let's run the server. And let's run this too. not quite what we had in mind, right? So there's an obvious thing that we're doing the same value over and over and over again, right? So we're interpolating this value several times. So that's obviously not right, which is probably why it looks at the render time and not the alpha, right? Nice one, Jojo. What are you making though, right? I'm intriguified. A game engine? Ah, but what are you gonna make with it? Do you have like a game you want to make? A 2D platformer? Nice. I feel free to do whatever with the code that's there, right? The Joy one has a license file. The SKOG technically doesn't, so technically you can't fork it, but I won't tell anyone if you don't, right? No one cares about that. The profanity is making your ears wilt. The license. Do you guys like to converse? Do you like to have conversations about software licensing? I never understood the nerds' obsession with like license conversation. It's like you try to find the most boring thing ever and be passionate about it, right? It's like, oh man, have you seen this grass grow? So like this grass is so much growier than this other grass. We're watching it in real time. Yeah, I'm gonna take the family out on the lawn and we're gonna watch the grass. It's gonna be amazing. Kids just crying in the corner, screaming like, "I don't wanna go look at your fucking grass again." We gotta go and watch the grass now, right? As I want software licensing conversations are like to me, they're like, yeah. Right, boring. You're a boring person who likes boring things. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry to tell you this, right? Can I touch it? No! We don't touch grass here. But software licensing is important. Be that as it may, it's still fucking boring, okay? It's still insanely boring. And the people who get strongly opinionated about it, I need you to reflect on your life choices for a minute, right? I need you to really, you didn't go into law, right? That's not your forte. That's not what you want to do, right? But you want to obsess about software licensing, okay? Man, use this license. It's so much better. Oh man, your license is like you did a bad choice about your license. Bitch, you made poor life choices that led you to thinking that, okay? Get off my lawn. I'm gonna watch it grow now. All right. Anyway, I'm kidding. If you like software licensing, then who am I to tell you that that's a really boring and stupid thing to like, right? Okay. Anyway, so we can't lerp the glurp here. Instead, we have to do something else. We have to do... What happens if we write this into our history? Now I'm just intrigued. We're going to do that, and then we're going to do something else. Where's my history? No, that wouldn't make sense. That would just shrink it all the time. Okay, it's going to look different, I think. It's not the right thing to do, but I want to see what it looks like. We have to restart this. Oh, maybe I shouldn't goof around too much with this then, because it's boring to continuously restart these things, right? All right. It's better than what we had, but it's still wrong. We're just going to have to do what they did. In the documentation there, right? Get your license out of my salad. You don't make friends with salad. Right. There we go. New game already? Yeah, we're doing the network thing, right? We're doing the network thing. So we made the platformer. Vixie, what did I just tell you? All right? Stop being the Redditor in chat. I just told you how boring software license is, okay? And like making a license sound cool, it's like that, like 60 plus dude showing up at school, be like, "What up, kids? Skibidi toilet." Right? That's what that is to me, okay? I want you to sit on that and feel the shame that you should feel. Jokes aside, I am aware of that, right? I know about license. I don't think that license is particularly meaningful, though, but someone clearly felt similar to me, but went too far with it, right? I think you should. So, okay, so let's be serious for a second. You should care about what license you use, right? Because the license you choose has an impact on the future of your software. If you want your software to be handled by other people, right? That's and how they deal with your software, right? There are licensing you can use that will prohibit certain companies from using, or will legally prohibit certain companies from using your software, right? There are licenses you can use where you can just don't care. There are licenses that will force people to contribute back to your code. There's a lot of, like, if you want your code to interact with other projects outside of what you're doing, then the license does matter, right? Confirmed license nerd. Let's go out on the lawn, everyone, right? I personally don't get the point of having two and feel MIT is sufficient. So I just MIT for libraries, and for any application I use AGPL3 unless it's good reason to use MIT with everyone. Yeah, I'm even more basic than that. I basically when I need a license, I do license. There we go, and then I type toggle bastard over here, right? And that's it. Okay. That's me adding licenses to my code. Is it the right license? It is for me and my feelings. Okay, I think that's an MIT license, by the way. LLM generated license. Let's go. So here's the problem with not using a standardized license. If you want other people to use your code, everyone kind of knows MIT, GPL, what these roughly means, right? Or Apache license. If you deviate from that, then suddenly you're incurring a legal situation with anyone who wants to use your code, right? They have to spend time legally figuring out if they can use your code or not, and that might be a bit of a showstopper for some. Look at the license model of 60 FPS, man. Sorry, of Slint. Still think that's a pretty... Slint sounds so bad, but I've said that in the past. 60 FPS was definitely a better name, and they should have just toughened it out, right? But anyway, so if you look at their license model, it's a little bit... You can use it for free for non-commercial projects. But even though everything I do is non-commercial, I still don't want to bother with it, right? And I think a lot of developers feel the same. It's like, but what if you do invest in this thing and it turns out that you do want to make a commercial project, but you have no starting money, kind of thing, right? Is Qt paid for commercial use? I didn't even know this, but I don't do anything with Qt or Qt. Whatever floats your goat. All right. Okay. So we couldn't cheat and just make shit up and expect it to work. So let's go and look at this thing then, right? So we are subtracting. No, we're creating a. We're taking now minus the update rate. So this is, we're not doing this part, right? Which we probably should be doing though, right? We're just looking at the timestamp of this. So the first one has to be, in the past, and the second one has to be in the future, according to this timestamp. So according to this timestamp, this one should be in the future. And how is it in the future? We're taking the current time and we subtract the server update rate. That means that we have to write in the timestamps for these as well, right? I guess we could do that into our history. That means that we need to throw an instant in there. This thing is obviously not going to happen. There we go. All right. But why are we calling it server time? That's I should probably find that out. So, oh no, it's the server's update rate. Okay, that's our fixed one, right? So it's gonna be our fixed step, which I don't think is. We have to look at what this looks like. Yeah, so this one is already in milliseconds, so we don't have to do the conversion. So if the okay, so what we put here and what is it that we're gonna put there? So this is the previous timestamp and this is the current timestamp, right? Will this be peer-to-peer local network for starters? Or do you plan to have some server for multiplayer stuff up front? Server, all the way. I'm not doing any peer-to-peer. Okay. Peer-to-peer where... So this should be able to have multiple players, right? Peer-to-peer means some kind of fucked up server protocol data propagation bullshit. And ain't no way I want to write that. So this is fine. Server it is. Okay, so we need to fill out this with something. So that's going to be... the current time minus the milliseconds of this. This feels very strange. This is supposed to be our time step, right? Our fixed step. Okay, and we're supposed to interpolate between these two. We're supposed to multiply that by the timestamp minus 0. So that's the value that we're looking at. So the past is equal to the past value plus that, right? So we take that minus T0. So that means that we should be able to lerp the current with the previous based on this. Okay, let's try that then. Based on that, right? Huh. I guess we could just make this into elapsed here. But you can just run servers locally. I don't understand the reasoning there. Your game can outlive you. That doesn't make any sense. Why can't this outlive me? Are you planning to murder me? Please don't do that. I got lots of stuff to do. Okay? I don't have time for that. And you are definitely the most likely suspect now. Now that is not doing what I thought it was going to do. All right, we're back to this being wrong. Someone really doesn't like Ken Berg, but that's okay. I don't know them personally, though. Okay, so this is not the right thing to do. Then let me read this thing. is, so we got that plus that times t. Is that not what this does? We got that plus that times t. Ah, but they're subtracting that. So we need to take that minus t0 and divide that by t1 minus t0. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. What did we have? We have the timestamp minus the previous timestamp. Divided by what? That minus that. It's not particularly important to make this code serviceable. We just want to see it in action. Then this is T. Ooh, I want T now. Who's making T? Never, no one ever steps up, right? It's always I that has to do it, right? That is very much still not working. All right, so I did wrong. And then we set in the position, or are we adding to the position? Probably just setting the position, right? Yeah. This is the same as the Lerpen, right? This is wrong on my end. The T1 minus T0, we can even name it that, right? Hello, Karate. How you doing? How you doing this fine day? That is the T minus T0. This is just the same thing though, with more lines and shorter variable names, right? So we have the render timestamp minus T0. And then divided by T1 minus T0. But that can't be right. These things can't be the current date. They have to be something else. So let's see what we're actually inserting here. Timestamp is the current time. I believe that's what this does. Okay, so plus is doing that. Interesting. So it probably gives you something like a Unix timestamp. Is that what it does? It's timestamp with a Q. Why don't we? Really? So there's doesn't specify here. It should be in the constructor though, shouldn't it? The epoch. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Maybe W3 School can teach us something. It does feel like maybe this is some kind of weird hack then. What if we do that? That just gives us a negative number. That doesn't do anything. And I'm guessing that won't do anything either. That will do nothing. Okay, so it's not like a unary operation even. Well, it would be. Right? This is a problem when you don't actively learn a language. It's kind of... I wouldn't call this maybe an idiosyncrasy, but this is definitely not something that is obvious then. Okay, so how do we get... What about this? What if we do... get milliseconds. So if we do a new date... No. Okay, what about... this? Aha. That, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. So date prototype value of. Really? Huh. Get time? What does get time do? Or am I looking? Yeah, I'm looking at the right thing. So get time is the same as doing value of is the same as, can you do ABC is equal to 1, 2, 3? Is this doable? Can you do this in JavaScript? No, I'm pretending that I have Rust here, do I? No, can't do that. Okay, what if we do... Can we do this? Well, I mean, it's a bit wild, right? What happened to 2? What happened to 2? All right. Can we? I'm guessing we cannot do this. All right. That would be crazy. Okay. Right. So if we say AB is equal to new date and new date value of. We also want new dates get time, which means we need ABC is equal to. Yeah, so they're all the same. Well, I guess I really didn't have to type that. I could have just typed that out, couldn't I? So this is the number of milliseconds since Unix epoch, right? That's what we're looking at. So new date is the same as time since Unix epoch, right? That's what that is. In milliseconds. Can Fen do time? All right. Okay, cool. So we know what we're guessing. So let's just rethink this right now. It's the number of JavaScript frameworks on NPM at the moment. Because yeah, much you love this REPL. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just a little bit. You have to understand the language, something that I never really bothered to do. But like, why is get time, value of, and plus? Why are they doing the same thing, right? I'm sure there are ridiculous things in all languages, right? So let's not pretend this is unique to JavaScript, but it's a little bit funny to look at that, right? Okay, so let's read this code armed with that knowledge, all right? Timestamp. This is time since Unix epoch, right? So this is how many milliseconds has passed since then. So this is like the equivalent of system time now, right? Like Unix epoch. It's the equivalent of using like system time now with duration since Unix epoch. So it would be the same thing. So everything is looking at how much time has passed. But then why would we use that particular one? We don't have to use that one. Because the underscore doesn't mean anything. Tanaka, you know this. That's the exact reason why we're doing it. We're doing this just to torment you, right? No, we are looking at the implementation of the entity interpolation for remote entities. And it's written, the code example is written in JavaScript. I was supposed to read through this, but we're going to do the implementation first, right? So this is effectively Unix timestamp, right? A Unix epoch, right? So time since Unix epoch is what that is. So if we go here, this is going to be time sense. This is then time sense Unix epoch minus the fixed step. So this is in milliseconds, right? Aren't reference impulse historically written in C? Where do you get that from? Where does it say that? Stop hallucinating, Tanaka GPT. Okay? Go put your pants on and stop hallucinating and get out of my kitchen. All right, so we're looking then at the time that has passed since this was. So that is our instant. And that's our now. Wow, then this is what our implementation isn't really wrong. Man, the way it runs on C, is that why you have a crash in your pants all the time? Then this isn't wrong. We're looking at how much time has elapsed since these entities were written. So this is going to take now minus that. And we're going to divide that by the new minus the old. Then where's the bug? Huh. Memory leaks. He segfaulted his pants. I love you guys. You definitely can take something and run with it. Okay, timestamp is now minus the previous one. So we can use instant for that one. So we're looking at how much time has elapsed. And this thing is right now. We called you now. So assuming that now is larger than something. No. Assuming that, wait, previous timestamp can't be larger than now. It has to be now is larger than previous timestamp. And then current timestamp is going to be elapsed as seconds, F32. And as long as the current timestamp is larger than now, although now is technically in the past, but let's be less confusing, shall we? Okay, then what we're saying that T is equal to now minus previous timestamp. Is that correct? T is equal to now minus that value divided by no, so that, and then that, right? So that's going to be, and then curve minus prev, divided by curve minus prev. Yeah. That's not right. is that mine as a minus? That's what I goofed up. But that still doesn't work. That's the same thing. So we're taking that plus that minus that. Well, thank you, Noctua, for at least identifying that. Where is the mistake, though? That is the question. We're supposed to set the position to this value. But that doesn't work, does it? Why don't we just give up and go home? No, instead of doing it this way, can we... Yeah, we're not using the old entity X anyway. So it has to be... I think this is the issue, right? So let's see where the server update rate is set. It's set to Hertz. Wait, you're already doing... Oh, okay. So you're doing 1,000 divided by that. That's the update rate in sec. Oh, but then maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. No, that is not wrong. Or is it wrong? Fixed step is 1 second divided by 10. So that does not look wrong to me. That is from a second. I don't get it. All right. This isn't quite right, is it? I mean, it is interpolating, and I don't think the issue is the server lag. We can see this here by introducing a higher server lag when we do. So right now, this thing is 8 kinds of jank, right? For the blue ball. So if we set the lag to 450 and we turn on interpolation, it will still be smooth, right? Yeah. Ish. Can it divide by 0? If you divide by 0, you're definitely going to get some exciting results. But T1 and T0 can't be the same. No. Because we're updating our history every frame. So you basically have to have another frame happen before you can update it, right? Which means that at the minimum, fixed step will have passed, right? yeah, we're running the game at 60 frames per second. So interpolation should be, but it should, the thing that is a bit weird is that it should interpolate from, there's nothing weird about it, but the thing that it should do is interpolate from the amount of, it should interpolate from the current value, from the previous value to the current value. See, that cannot be right. This will give this now value the same value every time. This is always going to be the same, but these values will change though, because they are growing, but they're growing by the same amount, right? So the difference between these two will always be the same. The difference between these two will not always be the same. This number will decrease. So this number will become smaller. Because this number is getting larger. I really need a wee. Right, decided to make tea as well. So right. Where is Christoph as well? Right, so I got a second stream coming up today after lunch with Christoph. We probably want to talk about Sig and his feelings. Maybe not that, I don't know. But that's gonna happen. And if you don't watch that, then you won't know about all the exciting things that he might talk about. I have nothing to contribute to this. So this will be a very strange stream for me. But then again, what do I know? Okay. So this isn't doing what I thought it should be doing. And I do wonder what T is. So should we, first of all, should we make it so we do not care about this? We don't do this great thing or this great thing. So we just get rid of this part. So we are no longer interpolating between that, and instead we're only doing, sorry, we're not doing prediction and reconciliation, we're only doing interpolation. Meow. Okay, and for that to work, we are getting rid of this. Okay, so we should now be able to do this and see, look at it being all weird. Here, it's not, it's doing nothing. Okay, fiddlesticks. Why are you doing nothing? We're adding the player. Ah, we never set this, right? We can't do that, can we? Where do we set state player sprite ID? Ooh, my tea is ready. Okay, I have a new idea. While I was fetching tea, I had an idea. We'll make a new podcast and we're going to call it the L Take. And all we do is just agitate people with L takes. All right. So it's kind of like one step up from clickbait YouTube titles. I think it could work. It could work, right? All right. So state player sprite ID. Yes. But why do we need that? We need that for this. So we kind of need that, maybe. Okay, so now we have some goofy ass movements here. We're just doing interpolation. But that still doesn't look the same. So if we ran another client here, they should effectively look the same, right? But they don't. They don't behave the same. So that was not easy. Why? Oh, that's why. Ah, that's why. Okay, so I've tried to cheat and just make everything networky to see if that would do something, but it didn't. All right, I'm going to ping Christoph. Okay. My headphones just died. I don't have a lot of luck with headphones, do I? So we can't do this part then. What? What? Okay, cool. All right, let's dump some data then. I was kind of hoping to not have to do that, but I think we do. Let's look at the interpolation value here. Just for fun. Man, I hate that thing with Twitch. Twitch has the worst things going for it sometimes. Okay. I don't even care about this. Yeah, what's going on there? It's always the same, right? Very wrong. So it's always close to 1. That can't be right. Oops. Okay. This is something I have to review and plan out the upcoming stuff as well. It's not planning though, right? Why does everything have to be so creaky? Do we even get here? That is the important question. We do. We get there a lot. Don't build servers, build friendships and sail across the ocean of amigos instead. Sea of friends. There we go. All right, let's dump the entire state here. So we're going to look at this. So let's dump the Oh, also gross. Are you insane? Are you doing insane things? Just don't have timeouts, right? No one likes to be timed out. Just have a never-ending buffer of connections and let them live. And when they haven't done anything for a while, you drive them up to another buffer called the farm, where they can just read and write packages at their own leisure. You need to, well, first of all, what kind of multiplayer are you making? Turn-based or what? That's great, Wixer. You should work for Apple. Real-time turn-based. Wait, what? That doesn't work. How can it be real-time and turn-based? Ticks every 3 seconds. Simultaneous turns. Okay, but it's still turn-based. Okay, so in that case, don't overcomplicate things. Send your game state, use TCP/IP, and you'll be fine. That way, you don't have to do any of the stuff that I'm doing. All right? Because 3 seconds, sorry, takes, every 3 seconds. 3 seconds is an eternity. So you have time to send the game state and get the game state. No issues, right? TCP all day long, yeah. If you were to tips on how do I sync ticks, you can have a server that knows what time it is, right? So the server has a timestamp that it knows about. When a client connects to the server will send that timestamp. So the client time, right? The timestamp on the client is equal to now minus the server timestamp. So if the server has been running for 60 seconds, the client will have been running for 0 seconds. So you subtract those 60 seconds. So the client time is now looking like the server time minus the lag, right? So you're not gonna get perfectly synced ticks, but assuming that your latency is not more than 3 seconds, you will still be within the same block of 3 seconds. And then you just run your world in continuous 3 second blocks, right? So you could more or less just ignore the synchronization and just send out the ticks, right? So like this, if the world, let's do this instead, right? Let's do this instead. This is a smarter way of doing it. Maybe, I don't know. Let's say that we forget about time completely. The server will tick every 3 seconds, right? So every 3 seconds, we will move this arrow forward, right? That's supposed to be an arrow. Okay. So it's pointing to this block, right? So you will run the code in this block. Then you will send this block out to all the clients, right? So all the clients get this block. And then the server moves on to the next block, right? So then it gets here. and then it performs all the stuff, right? So it's going to get data from the clients in here, and then it's going to perform the next thing, right? The thing that you have to Stian, right? The thing that you have to pay attention to is that these blocks are available to the client, right? So work has been done here. We move on to the next block. Work has been done here. And let's say that you have a slow client over here, right? Who is performing an operation based on the game state as it was here, right? So this guy is performing an operation based on this game state, but the server is actually here, right? So a lot of other things has happened at this point. So by the time you're applying his operation here, let's call this guy A. By the time you're applying A's state, it's happening in the third frame, not the second frame, right? It does need to send out tick number, yes. So here's what you do. Every client has to acknowledge every tick. So you can't skip a beat, right? So this is tick 0, and the clients are performing operations. Every client has to say, I received tick 0, I am performing an operation on tick 0. You cannot have the server at tick 3, well, you can. The server at tick 3, and a client has ignored this guy, right? A client is not allowed to ignore this guy and try to perform an operation on here. So you can't go from here to here for a client. So every client will get the game state, act the game state, along with whatever actions is applying to that game state, right? Every tick must be acted by every client. Yes. And if it doesn't, you have to deal with that, right? Because if the server moves on to the next tick and you have a client that hasn't done anything up until this tick, right? So you have client A and you have client B, and client A has gone through 0, 1, and 2, and client B has received 0 but not done anything with it. So if client B tries to perform an operation on step 1, but the server has now moved on to this step, right? That would mean that the server would have to replay all the steps. It would have to replay all of these steps and resync the state with A. But that puts A at a disadvantage. That means that A performed operations on what we all agreed the world looked like at 0. So if B has not done anything for 0, B cannot do anything for 0, right? So it means that the world that we perform an operation on is the previous tick, right? Everyone is performing an operation on the previous tick. So the server ticks the world, it sends out the state for 0, everyone gets to apply their operations on 0, and then you play those over to generate 1, and then you send out 1, and you move to the next one, right? So there is no ability to perform a series of actions on a frame that has already been, right? So when the server is ready to process 3, there can't be a client that says, hang on, I'm working on 1, because everyone else has moved on from there. So you take those turns as like a no-op turn, like nothing happened there. A skipped turn, as it were, right? So every player that hasn't acknowledged 0 when we move to 1, they will just be skipped. They will be skipped and their actions will be ignored, and they will be given a new blank buffer to upload the commands into, right? You don't need frame tick concept. Well, you do if you want the world to keep moving on. Otherwise, you are subject to the you are subject to either the first or the last one. And if you're subject to the last one, well, that's going to be really annoying if someone is lagging a lot, right? They can take down the whole game then. Do you maintain velocities though? What velocities? It's a turn-based strategy game. And then I guess it's interesting when you have players far enough away from each other on the game walls, they don't need to be in sync and just continue their own actions as long as their player actions happen out of the viewable area. What are you talking about, Danaka? But you can certainly have players operate on the world without affecting other players. But the world needs to run in lockstep with the players, right? So when the world advances to the next frame, you can't have players trying to apply their operations 2 frames behind, right? Because all the other connections have observed the world state. Once the world state has been observed, you can't change its history, right? But that just means that you don't include that state, though, Danaka. That's just selective filtering of what updates you send to the other players. That doesn't change anything. That just because 2 players aren't in the same space, you still can't allow 1 player to perform operations on the path, right? Especially if those operations would affect the players, even if they weren't in the same view. But let's say you have like a world economic where the prices are changing. So when you've sold a commodity, the price of that commodity goes down. You can't allow a player somewhere else to access that commodity price, right? Just because they're not in the same part of the world, kind of thing. Right? What if a player disconnects and connects later? Then they will receive if you connect here, you will get the game state here, the world state here. There's nothing else to it, right? If you want to make things a little bit more detailed, then you have the entire state up until then. So you send that to new players, and then you just send them the delta for the next step then, right? I think for this, that I would just have like an event log that gets written to a world state, right? So let's say, let's say that every 10 frames, every 10 ticks, we coalesce everything into one fixed world result, right? So the world looks a little bit like this, okay? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, right? So you have actions here. You have a series of actions here. They're all written into a log, right? And then you have 2 more actions here. That's 2 more actions into log. The log is divided into frames, right? So F0, zoom, right? F1, whoopsie doodles. And then no actions here, an action here, right? So then we have another action that is on F3. And when you reach the 10th frame here, you take all of this stuff and then you make that into a single unit, a single world state. So anyone who joins here, they get all this entire log that they can play back locally, and that's the world state, right? So this way you can just send someone the entire world plus whatever has happened since the last thing, right? That's overcomplicating it? No, you need to be able to send the entire world state, right? You need to be able to drop the entire world state to all the players. I guess you could just store 1 frame at a time and write the whole world state. So you send the next change if you wanted to. You could do that too, I suppose. But if a player disconnects and connects later, it's just about adding the whole game world, right? You just send the whole game world to anyone who connects. They get a snapshot and then they get world delta. But where's Christoph, right? We're supposed to do a stream together and he's not replying. But I do think that a world that ticks every 3 seconds, you can most certainly send the entire world state. Yeah, but that's not too bad, Stian, right? If you have a full snapshot of the world that you can just serialize and send to the player, and then after that you just send updates, you just propagate the commands, right, and play back the commands. The server is going to be the source of truth anyway, so no matter what a player say that they are doing or have done, that is always verified by the server first anyway, right? So if a player says, I'm spending my 9 trillion gold on buying this item, and the server goes, you don't have that, you cheating scumbag, it can just ignore that or penalize the player for being a sausage, right? But the server always has the truth, the truth state, right? So you can just serialize that and send it out. The question is, are there things in this state that other people shouldn't be able to see? Because you can always monitor network traffic, right? So whatever you send over the network to all players, you have to assume that that is public information to all the players, right? So even if you're displaying some kind of fog of war, if there is information about where other players are in that, they can extrapolate that from the information if they wanted to, right? I wouldn't say different endpoints, because different endpoints implies different sockets, right? Different addresses. And when you connect, you can simply go, okay, this player has connected. The first thing we do, bar any authentication, is to serialize the world and send it to the player. And then move the player into the game where they, like everybody else, are receiving snapshots, right? Yeah, I mean, like, there's no reason not to, Stian, right? You can, the way you can approach this is to make you one take of this, which is an experiment I did with my previous attempt that failed, was to have everyone is a server. But if you're playing with other people, then the server you're playing with is a remote server as opposed to your local server, right? I think that's a very common take on network games, right? You basically either connect to a local server or to a remote server and let everything kind of behave the same. If the client validates the data, then okay, you are definitely going to get cheated, right? But if you have clients negotiating authority, you're definitely adding complexity. So then, are you building this because you want to explore network programming and some kind of consensus protocol, right? Imagine that you have 5 players, right, in a game. So one player starts over here, one player starts over here, another player starts over here. And these two both agree that this guy is the server. And then you have another one over here, and these two agrees that this guy is the server. So then you have a 5th guy, and it's like, WTF, mate, who's the server, right? So you need some consensus protocol if you are going to negotiate that, right? Was it DRG? Just runs the server locally, you connect to it when you do something. I think that's a very common thing to do, right? Sounds good. I need lunch in about 30 minutes. I'll be available after that. Cool beans. Okay, I'm gonna go and make some food and eat said food. Then I'm gonna stream again. So, yeah, there are multiple clients doing validation as well as having one on peers authority. I think for like I said, for if you want to do, if the goal is to build a consensus protocol and do that in the guise of making a multiplayer game, then go for it. Like that's great, right? If the main goal is for you to realize some kind of game idea, then just have one player go, I'm the host. And then all the other players go, great, what's your IP address? Age, sex, location, and phone number, right? And then they just connect to it, right? It's from the end of the world Flash video. Flash video, my goodness. That's a while ago. Way easier to just have a main server. Yeah, absolutely. But there are consensus protocols already. I think Raft is one of them. Like this is a solved problem, right? But it depends on like what your goal is. What is it that you want to do? What do you want to write? What's the code you want to build, right? And if your interest is in the networking and the consensus, then do that, right? If your interest is in the design of a game engine that is multiplayer, then skip that part. First, because that's gonna be its own. I mean, it's a research topic, consensus protocols, right? Anyway, I'm gonna go and eat some food. Then I'm gonna come back and stream, right? So I'll be back in maybe an hour from now. We have to do a setup though, right? So I'm streaming with another guy. We have to do some setup because I haven't done that on this machine for a while. So we'll see what happens, right? But in the meantime, go and eat food, have some consensus in the kitchen with your missus, and